Hey there, y'all. My name's Clifford Campbell, and today we're doing 2.1 solving linear equations. And you know what? I just realized I call it solving linear equations. I'm gonna add some quadratics and stuff in there. Not very many, but here we go. Okay. So to start off here, we're gonna start with something easy. Let's do like 4x minus 7 equals 15, something like that. So you need to be able to solve something like this, okay? This is the very foundation of it, okay? So let's start with what you would do first. What you're doing on this is you're solving for x, and we're going to work our way. You guys, if you remember PEMDAS, let's see here. Like, let's say I have something that's like 5 times 3 minus 6. And I say, what is this equal? And I tell you to work it out. Well, you would work your way down this, right? You would say, okay, well, we're going to do parentheses first. I know this is parentheses, but really the two are just multiplying. That parentheses means like if there's a plus 2 inside of the parentheses or something. Okay, so there's no parentheses in this. There are no exponents in this, so I don't have to worry about that. And then I do all multiplying and dividing next. So 5 times 3 is 15 minus 6. There is no other multiplying or dividing, so I would leave it like that. And then you would do this one, additions and subtractions, okay? So addition and subtraction, that is this. So you do 15 minus 6, and you'd say, oh, it's 9. Okay, that's how you would work this out. This is the order of operations, right? Now, what you're going to do when you're solving for x is we're basically going to be doing the order of operations, but we're going to do them backwards. So you need to get rid, if you're solving for x, we're trying to get this. We need to get rid of any adding or subtracting first. So with this x, there is a subtracting going on. So we're going to add 7. And that's going to leave me with 4x on this side equals 15 plus 7, which is 22. Okay, and then now there's no more adding or subtracting, so we would move on to our next thing, which is multiplying and dividing. So sorry, we would divide by 4. Now, why are we dividing? Just like this one where it was a minus 7, we do the opposite operation. Okay, so this one, 4 is multiplying with x, so we do the opposite operation, which is dividing by 4. And that gets rid of the 4s, leaving me with only x over here. And 22 over 4, well, let's see what that would be. Each is divisible by 2. So I can simplify, right, if you remember from the other stuff. And this is going to be 2. 11 over 2, neither one of those are divisible by the same thing. So there's my answer, 11 over 2. Now, guys, a lot of these will probably be left in fraction form, okay? Now, what you're going to need to do, if it's in decimal form, is you would just use the calculator on the top right-hand corner of your TSI exam, and you could switch that to decimal form. Just do 11 divided by 2, right? And that would just be 5.5 as a decimal. But I would assume your answers would probably be left in this fraction form, okay? Okay, let's try another one. Now, they love to not just use only x, okay? They like to throw in a bunch of other letters. My students come in, they're all confused. They're like, it said to solve for B, or it said to solve for A. And I'm like, it's the same thing, just not an x. It's a different letter. So let's try something else here. And you know what? Let's throw more than just one variable. Let's throw a variable on each side here. So let's say we got something like 2a minus 6 equals, I don't know, 1a. I like that. Okay, and it says solve for a. Well, we need to put, just like over here, we put the 7 over because we're trying to isolate x. So x was the only thing on one side, right? Well, we want to put all the a's. We want to get all the a's put by themselves, right? So you could, a lot of students, I think, right here would say, oh, well, let's subtract 1a over here. You can. It's fine. But you know what? Let's do it 2 different ways so you guys can see both ways. And whatever you like, you stick with. Okay, what I would suggest is subtract 2a to this side. So you're left with negative 6 equals 1 minus 2 is negative 1a. And then we just need to solve for a, right? So the negative 1 and the a are multiplying, so we're going to divide by negative 1. That's going to cancel them from this side. A negative and a negative Negative divided by a negative makes it positive, so it's 6 over 1, which is just 6. Yeah? Now, what some other people might want to do, I want to show you this because I want you to, if you take this route, on the exam, I want you to know how to, get yourself out of it. 2a minus 1a is going to leave you with 1a minus 6 equals, now there's nothing over here. It all canceled out. This is where people usually start getting confused. Well, if there's nothing over here, put nothing, put a 0, right? Okay, we're still solving for a. So at this point, let's get rid of the 6. And we're left with a equals 6. Yeah? And that gives us the same answer on both of these, right? It doesn't matter which route you took. It's going to take you to the right answer as long as you don't do any weird tricks, that aren't correct. Okay, let's do something with some distribution in there. Let's do like 4. Let's throw a different letter in there. Let's do a y plus 3 plus 5 equals 2y. Now we got a lot of stuff in there, right? Okay, now here's what I'm going to do on this. I'm going to say if this, then what does, let's say 3y equal? Or what is 3y, And so they love to do this. Like, let's say they did this before on one of these ones. Let's say they had, if this, then what is, 2a? Well, you figured out a was 6, right? So if they want to know what 2a is, you just go, okay, well, a is 6, so 2 times 6 is going to be 12. And that would be your new answer, okay, if they say that. So what we're going to do on here is when they do something like this, we're going to solve for y. We're going to figure out what y is. And then we're going to plug y in right here. And we're just going to do 3 times whatever that y is. Okay? So let's first solve for y. Okay, so we got these parentheses going on over here. And what you got to do first is distribute this 4. Okay? So that's going to leave you with a 4y plus 12. And then plus 5 equals 2y. I didn't touch anything else, right? I left that and that alone. I just distributed. Okay, now what you want to do is if you have things that are alike, maybe we combine them, like the 12 and the 5. So that's going to leave us with 4y plus 17 equals 2y. Now we're looking just like this one over here, right? Where you got the y's on the same side, and you take whichever route you want. If you want to subtract the 2y and have a 0 over here, you can. I'm going to subtract the 4y. That's going to leave me with 17 equals negative 2y. And then I divide by the negative 2 because those two things were multiplying, right? And that cancels out the negative 2's, leaving you with this 17 over negative 2. Now, guys, this negative, you can leave it on the bottom, you can put it on the side, you can put it on the top. I personally enjoy putting it on the top. And that's what my answer is going to be. Now, that's what y is, right? I said I wasn't going to stop there. I said, then what it does 3y equal? Okay, well, we know what 1y is, so we just want to multiply 3 times y. Now, guys, I don't think you're going to get a calculator on something like this, okay? They want to know that you can multiply, divide, subtract, add fractions. They want to know you got all those simple steps. So I don't think they're going to give you a calculator. I don't think they want you using decimals on this, okay? So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to know how to multiply 3 times this. It's super easy. Remember, if you don't know how to do your fractions, just go back to my fractions video. But look, I can throw this 3 over 1. And then we can just multiply. Multiplication of fractions is super easy. You just go straight across. So here, let me see what this is. This is going to be 13 times negative 7. 3 times negative 17. 3 times 17 is negative 51 over 1 times 2, which is 2. So it's negative 51 over 2. And that does not simplify. So that is our answer right there. So what does 3y equal? That's what it equals. Okay, now, guys, if you are good, you feel like you're good at this point, but it's starting to get a little hard, go over to the stuff and start working on all of these up until it looks like probably around here. Yeah, number 7. You can probably work on all of them up to about number 7, maybe even 8. Okay, you might even be able to go further. Okay, let's do a couple more now. If you're good, let's go. Keep watching. If not, go work on some of those other ones. Okay, let's throw some extra stuff in here. Okay, I'm going to have like a 5 minus 2b. Let's do b on this one. Plus 3 equals, say, 6b minus 4. Okay, let's work this out. Okay, we got to solve for b. Okay, first thing you want to do is get rid of these parentheses here. Now, most people are probably going to want to distribute like this 5 or something, but you got like a -1 here. When you did a minus, there was like a -1. We got to distribute that. So this 5 is going to come down. This -1 is going to distribute here, so minus 2b. -1 minus there, which is -1 times 3 is -3, equals 6b minus 4. Now we're going to combine whatever is alike. So that 5 and that -3 are going to come together. So we're going to have -2b. 5 minus 3 is positive 2, equals 6b minus 4. Okay, now at this point, you got to put things, the b's on one side, the constants on the other. So how about I'm going to throw this 2b over here so that I can keep it positive. Okay, so I can make it positive. So that gets rid of that. So now I have a 2 equals 8b minus 4. Then I'm going to add the 4. That leaves me with 6 equals 8b. Yeah, because that canceled it from this side. And then we can divide by 8. And then that means b is equal to 6 over 8. Or each of these are divisible by 2, right? So we can simplify it, which is going to be 3 over 4. Okay, now that's our answer. Now, if they wanted to, they could have thrown something else in here, like saying, then what is, like 5b? And then you would have just done 5 times 3 over 4, right? And that would have given you something like 15 over 4. And you would have said, oh, there's my answer if it's asking for 5b. But that's our answer if we're just solving for b. Okay? These are looking good. These are looking good. Looking good in the neighborhood. Okay. Let's see. What should we do next here? I think maybe we'll get off of these. Let's do some fractions. Okay, let's see. Let's say you got something like x over 3 minus. And if you're not good at adding and subtracting fractions, I'll show you a little bit here. If it gets confusing, go back and watch my fractions video in 1.1. Okay? Let's go with 2x over, I want it to be something that's easy here. So let's go 6 equals 5. Okay, and it says solve for x. Okay, well, remember, whenever you're adding or subtracting fractions, you have to find a common denominator. That means you got to make this number and this number the same, right? So this is the easy one. I've set it up as an easy one. You can multiply this side by 2 over 2, and that will make 2 times 3 is 6, right? So that makes this. Okay, so this one I just copied down. This one, 2 times 3 is 6, so that's my new denominator. My new numerator is going to be 2 times x, so 2x. Okay? And I messed myself up. I got to make this like a 3 or something. I kind of like that mess up that I had there, though, because look, if you would have left it 2x minus 2x, I would have been left with no x's. There would have been nothing to solve for. Okay? This is probably why I should write some of them beforehand. Okay. So I'm going to do this now. Now we're just going to solve here. So now I have a common denominator, so I can subtract. So 2x minus 3x is going to be left with negative 1x over 6 equals 5. Now, if you are confused on how to do this, you could put 5 over 1, do cross multiplication, but I don't like that. I like to just stick to the simple mathematics here. So I need to get rid of this 6. It is dividing with x, right? So I need to do the opposite, which is multiply. So the 6's cancel, leaving me with only negative 1x equals 30, right? 5 times 6. Now I need to get rid of that negative 1. They're multiplying, so I divide. That leaves me with x equals 30 divided by negative 1. It's a positive divided by negative, so it leaves me with a negative. And there's my answer. Okay. Now, guys, I also want to say something. Now, on all of these, the reason I make them multiple choice is because I want you to use any alternative methods you might have, okay? Let's say if this problem is 5x plus 7 equals 12, and you're like, I don't know how to solve that. I don't know if I should divide by 5 or subtract 7 first. You're all confused. Remember, you can just start taking numbers, 1, and plug it in right there. And then you can do 5 times 1 is 5, plus 7, that's 12. Okay, there's my answer. Now look, if you would have chose the wrong one, if you put a 2 there, it'd be 5 times 2 is 10, plus 7 is 17. No, 17 is not equal to 12. So it cannot be 2. So you can plug stuff in and work with it until you found the answer. So I think you should do that if you don't know how to solve it, or it can be your check method. You should always double check yourself, make sure you were right, correct? So that's a way for you to double check yourself. Okay, so we just did that fraction one. Let's do one that's a little harder. Say x over 3 plus, say like 2x over 5 equals 7 or something like that. Okay, now we need to find a common denominator. In this case, I can't just multiply 3 by a number to make it 5. So what you got to do is you got to multiply this one by the other one's denominator, so 5 over 5, and this one by that one's denominator, 3 over 3. And when you do that, look what's going to happen. It's beautiful. It always works out. 5x over 5 times 3 is 15 plus 2x times 3 is 6x over 5 times 3 is 15 equals 7. And then we have a common denominator now, so we can add across. So 5x plus 6x is 11x over 15 equals 7. Okay, now we're going to do that same thing we did over here, solving for x. We multiply by 15 to get rid of the 15s. That leaves me with 11x equals 7 times 15, which is, it's a number. 7 times 15 is 105. And you divide by 11, get rid of those 11s, and you get x equals 105 divided by 11, and that doesn't look like it simplifies at all. That would probably be your answer. Yeah, I said probably because who knows, maybe they put it in decimal form. Maybe you have a calculator in the top right-hand corner of your TSI exam, and you type that in, you get it as a decimal. But I think they would probably leave it like that. Okay, so we did both of the fraction type form ones. Okay, and then here's one that can throw a wrench in things. So I kind of thought about putting it in here. Let's say we got something like 2 minus. I'm going to throw an x on the bottom. Let's say like 3 over 5x equals 7 or something. There's a couple wrenches I just threw at you here, okay? So let's walk through it. So I would assume I've been doing all these common denominator ones. You're probably like, okay, well I got to find a common denominator. But how do I do that? Don't do that. There's a better way. Look, I can subtract 2. And I'm left on this side with negative 3 over 5x equals 7 minus 2 is 5. Now look at why I like to put that negative on the top one, because now it looks like it's just with negative 3, right? And then I feel like people don't get confused. It's a negative 3. It's not a negative on other things. Okay, now look at this. I don't have to deal with that addition or subtraction thing anymore. I'm just left with this. And we already know how to solve one of these. Now, if some people get confused when I got a variable on bottom or something, but don't get confused. We multiplied to get rid of this bottom thing, right? So let's multiply by 5x to get rid of the bottom thing. And we're going to be left with negative 3 equals 5 times 5 is 25x. Yeah? And now I'm left with a nice easy one to deal with. I can divide by 25 to get my answer. And there's my answer. X equals negative 3 over 25. Cool. Okay. I just want to show how to get something if maybe they throw x's on the denominator. Say we do like a 3 over, a, I'm going to throw some different letters at us, minus 4 over 3a equals 6 or something like that. Okay, well, we need a common denominator to put these together, right? Well, you got an a here, a 3a here. So you can multiply this by 3 over 3. It's going to give me a 9 over 3a minus 4 over 3a equals 6. Now I have a common denominator, so I can put those together. So 9 minus 4 is going to be 5 over 3a equals 6. Okay, and then I'm trying to solve for a, right? So look, I can just multiply by 3a. That's going to leave me with those canceling. So I'm going to have 5 equals 6 times 3 is 18a. Divide by 18. And we're left with a is equal to 5 over 18. There's my answer. Okay, we're nearing about the end here. I got some square roots. And to introduce square roots, I wanted to, mess with squares. Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to go with x over, I want it to be nice, 10 equals, I don't know if this is going to come out nice. Here, I'm going to pause it so I make a nice one. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this 10. I'm going to put 2. I'm going to put 32 right here and x right here. And I say solve for x. Okay, well, it's kind of like one of those ratios, right? So we're going to cross multiply. You can do 2 times 32 is 64. Equals x times x. What is that? X squared. Okay, now solving for this. In order to get rid of that squared, we got a square root. That's the opposite of squaring. So square root is going to leave me with x equals, and then square root of 64 is going to be 8. Now it gives you two things. It gives you a positive and a negative 8. So what they like to do on these is, and if you're wondering why is it positive and negative, because on squared, like x squared, if I put a negative 8 squared, that makes 64. Or if I put an 8 squared. So no matter what you put inside of a squared or any even number that you put here, like you put a 4 or an 8 or whatever, it comes out as a positive when you do it. So the squareds always make them positive. So when you square root, it always gives you a positive or a negative. So what they like to do on these is they'll give you like this question. They'll say solve for x. And they'll say, and, x has to be less than 0. Or x has to be greater than 0. In this case, less than 0. So you'd be like, oh, okay, so my answer is going to be the negative version. So it's going to be x equals negative 8. Okay? Here we go. Let's do some square roots. Okay, say solve for y. Y minus 5 equals, so it's the square root of y minus 5 equals, 10. Okay, let's solve for y. So in order to get rid of that square root, I just showed you the opposite, right? So in order to get rid of the square root, you square. So now we're going to be left with y minus 5 on the left-hand side, and 10 squared is 100. We can just add 5. We're left with y equals 105. That's how you do those square roots, nice and easy, right? The only other thing I can think of with square roots is if they throw something outside the square root, I want you to know how to do that. So like let's say they got y plus 2, and out here they got like a plus 8 equals, I don't know, I'll stick with 10. Okay, and then it goes, well, you got to solve for it. Okay, so here you would not square first. You would want to get rid of this 8 first, and then you would have y plus 2, square root of y plus 2 equals 10 minus 8 is 2. And then you could go about squaring the whole thing. And then that would give you your y plus 2 equals 2 squared is 4. Subtract 2. And you're left with y equals, 4 minus 2 is 2. That would be your answer. I think that covers mostly everything I got on there. I put a little fancy question on number 20 for you. Just think about this. If you're doing it, it says 4x. Here, I can go to it. It says 4x plus 2y equals 16 and y equals 3x. What is y? Well, you know that y is 3x, right? Put 3x right there. Yeah, so now you'd have 4x plus 2 times 3x And 2 times 3x would make 6x. So you're going to have 4x plus 6x. Yeah? You can always look at the solutions if that helps you out. And I hope you enjoyed this. Sorry the video was so long. This is a long, long part. Have a great day. Adios.